Hello and welcome to the fifth of the design updates. Today we're going to tell you a little bit about the pets, or the what do we call them? Familiars. Thank you. And we're also going to be doing a summary of where we currently stand with the design. Are you better now?
Much better.
Are you?
I've got lots of lovely tweets
Yeah.
from all the followers yesterday.
We were worried about you. Yeah.
And the doc.
Yeah. You blame it on a cup of tea.
Yes, something like that. It must, yeah, not Domino's. Tea.
Tea, right.
Tea.
Any brand of tea? No. Okay,
Take it
so
for a while.
what's our questions?
Yesterday we were talking about personalities of the little characters and things.
Yes.
And that's generally gotten a good response.
Yes.
All suicidal Sid and
Yes.
all that. There was a few people weren't too happy with Fragile Fiona.
I know. I didn't think about that. Well, I think there's going to be Fragile Fred.
Fragile Fred.
And it'll be Indestructible Imogen.
Imogen. Imogen.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be so careful these days to be
Exactly.
correct. Well, they didn't even enter into my mind. Yeah.
So those characters, they're quite humorous. They quite stand out. And people were worrying if all the characters are going to be like that, or is that going to be a select few that are unique to the challenges in the game?
Yeah, so I think these are going to be very, very few, very sparingly, and these are moments when you go into a game that takes a long time. You want to break it up a bit, but the core thing that we're keeping is your followers have understandable behaviour. They're going to spread out. They're going to settle. There is this thing called a totem, which we're going to talk about next week, where you can somewhat control them. That's what most of your followers are like, but there are a few of these personalities that sometimes come out. They're like little bonuses that mix things up, and they are humorous characters. They are gameplay things. They're going to give you bonuses if you can keep Indestructible Imogen alive, or
you mean
Fragile
suicide?
Fred, then kill her off. Yeah.
Well, okay, and then we also talked about the good and evil theme yesterday, and we might have been a little unclear because some people thought we were going back into the very strong good and evil kind of twist, and we just wanted to reinstate it. It's a bit more subtle than that.
It's a little bit more subtle. We've got to be careful here, because if you do it wrong, then what will end up happening is that people will feel compelled to be good or compelled to be evil. And we don't want that. We want people to just play the game how they play the game, and give them tiny little benefits, not big benefits. So if I said this as an example, purely as an example, is that if you were good to your people, then the amount they breed, which is important, because the more they breed, the more followers you get, the more belief you have, will go up by 0.1%. And if you were evil, then the amount of strength they have in a battle would go up by 0.1%. So they're tiny amounts, but there is an aesthetic difference to your people, and there's also small gameplay differences. And this is where you've got to get right. You can't say that evil gods have their people are 10 times more powerful. That would be completely wrong.
Cool.
And this is the thing, Jack, this is the brilliant thing about why we're doing Kickstarter, is we'll refine that, we'll balance that, we'll tweak that in our alpha and beta program. When we send those copies out to people, which will be hopefully early next year, we will be using something called analytics to analyze the way people play. Plus, we'll be getting feedback from people about what their impressions are. And this is how games like Minecraft were developed, and that's what we absolutely want to do.
Absolutely. So, are we going to talk about one of our new tiers, or one of our new
tiers
aspects?
Are we talking about tiers?
Are we going to talk about tiers, or should we wait till next week?
I think we'll wait till next week.
So we talk about familiars.
Let's talk about familiars. Cool. And then let's do a summary. You thought something.
Yeah, no. It was about powers, actually, because earlier in the week we did a thing about powers, and people were kind of concerned, is it just destructive? Is it just going to be about using your powers to wreak havoc? But we kind of omitted before the kind of creative side of powers blossoming and affecting your world. So
yes, I mean, powers, the way we balance powers is that if I was, betting man, which I am, I would bet there would be as many constructive powers or nurturing powers as there are destructive powers. Now, some of those nurturing powers are very easy to imagine. They are things like beautifying the land. Beautifying the land will make your people spread out quicker to that beautification of the land. It's about increasing the birth rate. It's about getting people to breed and spread faster. It's about healing. Those are the obvious ones, but there's some interesting other ones that we may explore. About the and I don't want to give too many clues away about the passion of your people, and those will be balancing the destructive powers. So it's not all destructive powers, even though I am someone who likes to build things up and destroy them, like with Lego and stuff.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah.
But in Homeworld, we want to give that ability to move your finger across barren land and turn it and have trees pop out.
Lovely. Lovely. That would be lovely.
And that's an interesting...
Acorns.
Acorns
and oak trees. There he goes
might
again.
Might be a tier incentive, maybe. But I mean, that's the thing with battles. You're not just using powers to inflict damage on the enemy, but you're optimizing the land around your habitats, because the more beautiful the land, it will affect things like the conception rate and stuff. And you have that power to decide if you want to give the gift of life to a family who want to have a kid or something, which will then expand your population.
Especially if that family is named after your Facebook people, so you're giving life to your very friends. Right.
Yep. Familiar?
Let's talk about familiars.
Yep.
So familiars, here's the problem. It's a design problem with familiars. Is that the idea of familiar of a pet sounds like it's close to you, sounds like it's something that's with you, and of course you're a god. What sort of pet or familiar does a god have? And that is where we go and do a bit of research, and we've done this, and we have found the pet or a familiar, and it's a rather nice name called Huggin and Munnin. And this is, if you go to Wikipedia, you can read all about Huggin and Munnin, and it's set in the Norse mythology that Odin, the All-Father he had these two ravens, and if you read this, they've got a lot of personality about them, and they had some powers, those ravens, and they brought him information, and they gave him more power through that information. So that's our inspiration for this, and that solves a couple of problems. Firstly, these, and in Huggin and Munnin's case, they were ravens. Paul, who we can't see because the camera's pointing the wrong way, is currently thinking about how we're going to visualize these. Huggin and Munnin will be your familiars. They'll be going out and assisting you in the game. Because they fly, they can be with you, feel with you a lot of the time. So that's our inspiration for this. They are more about, we don't want to unbalance the game by making them too powerful, but we want them to be meaningful.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the... let's just go down and use this bit of paper here. And what I'm going to try and do on this piece of paper is just draw out everything that we've talked about this week in a very simple flow diagram. This is going to be using my horrible writing and spelling, and I apologise in advance for that. So let's just adjust the camera and then come down and look at this.
Right.
Okay, here we go. So, what is Godus? It is a reinvention of a God game. And Godus there's the three elements that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the structure, I'm going to talk about followers, and I'm going to talk about mechanics. Okay, let's talk about mechanics first. So what you do with the mouse or your finger, mainly mouse, what you do is you sculpt. That's the main thing that you do, is sculpt. And there's several different ways of sculpting. You can sculpt by something called nudging. And think of nudging as being creating mountains, land, valleys for your followers to settle on. You can also clear. You can clear, and that is cleaning up. It's cleaning rubble, for example. And that's with this is with or you can dig, and think about digging as being mining. And I'm going to put caving down there, well, that's causing some problems at the moment. So that's what you actually do. The followers will exploit what you do. They will settle on land that you've nudged and cleared. They will mine the resources that you have exposed, and they'll explore the caves that you've dug. Followers settle, and they breed, and they give you belief. And with that belief, you can create miracles, and you can create gifts, gift to the gods. And think of miracles as being earthquake, volcano, tornado, and on and on and on. Loads of ideas there. And think about when you cast those miracles, it's not just a click, it's a click and a whirl and a push and a pull. I think about those as being very strategic. The gifts of the gods inspire your people. They civilize your people. And they affect the overall game. So these miracles, they're what you use in multiplayer for sure. The gift of the gods is what you use in homeworld for sure. And then the structure is this simple. You take followers, you have homeworld, which is this growing, amazing place of all your people. Think about it going from little tiny settlement to a huge metropolis over many, many, many hours of play. You can take followers from your homeworld into multiplayer. Multiplayer is both cooperative and it's competitive. It's against your friends, or it's versus strangers. We haven't talked about clans yet, that's going to be a very important part. Or it's single player. And think about that as working through stories, a story and challenges. So that in a very quick summary is the game that we're building here. The elements, so you modify the land to increase your followers, and followers gives you the powers to win the battles in multiplayer and singleware and to make your homeworld bigger. That's it. That's what we're creating. A lot of details yet to come. A lot of details on clans. We did want to call them cults, but there's a bit of negative connotation with cults. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff to say about that, and we've got an enormous amount of details to go into here. We're hoping that next week that we will be able to start showing the prototype that we're working on, to show some of the things on this chart. That's our hope. The only problem is I'm sitting in Fabs's chair. Fabs is someone who is working on that prototype. It's the main program worker, and we think he's got the neurovirus. That worries me a lot. If anyone knows any home cures for neurovirus, then please let us know. Also worried about it spreading out. So thank you very, very much for watching these videos. We love making them. We really want your feedback. We really want your ideas. We really want you to tell us what we're doing wrong. what we're not doing right. Next week we'll continue doing this. We're also going to be meeting a lot more of the team because, you know, I'm just the big mouth idiot that talks a lot. You want to meet some people that are actually going to fulfill some of the promises that we'll be making. Thank you very much for watching.